Hello, class. This is the team incredibles. Our team consists of myself, Mustafa Ramadan, Chelsea Short-Morin, and Danielle Malaire-Danny. And Chelsea's going to go ahead and talk about the UI starting now.
Great, thank you. So I'm just going to run through a quick demonstration of our front end that we built for our project. Right now we're at the landing page. So we have a couple different buttons. We have a find restaurants, which will search for all the restaurants we have in our database. So right now, if I hit find restaurants, it will actually return all the restaurants in our database. And we can also search by a certain letter. We can filter that out. We could filter by a certain word. And as you can see on all of these search results, we have disabled the click to order button. This is because we felt like it was really important that the user be logged in order to order so that we could capture all of their data beforehand. So we have created a sign up page for new users. I'm not going to go through and fill it out, but as you can see, we query for their first name, last name, their address. They can select from 3 different states. We have an email that will be their username if they can sign in, and a phone number. When we hit submit, it will put the user into the database so that they will be able to log in with their email and password as a new user. For now, though, we'll just log in with a user that's already in our system. So now that I've logged in, when I go to search for a restaurant, I can, as you can see, the click to order button has been enabled. So I can click on that and I can view all the menu items that are associated with China Harbor. And at the bottom here, we have a total. So while I select the quantity of the items that I would like to purchase, we have the total calculation at the bottom. So it changes. So if I'm satisfied with my order, I can scroll back up to the top and I can click review order. Now this is going to be our order summary page, where as you can see, we have an order summary of exactly what was ordered by the user. We have the total, we have the delivery information, and we have a input for delivery notes. So for instance, if I wanted the delivery driver to know the door code, I can input that and will be saved in our database. We also have a really neat feature for payment information. So this user has already stored a credit card in our database. So if I click use default card, it will pull the credit card information from our database and populate it to the screen. However, if I do want to add a new card, I can. I'm just going to copy this card number really quickly for a quick demonstration. And you can edit it just on the screen, or you can edit it with this handy dandy up and down feature. I don't know what it's called. And I'll enter expiration date. And I can set the card as a default. And you can see an alert has popped up that the card has been added in our database. So now that the user has got the credit card information in, they have their delivery information all set to go, and their order, they can go ahead and click submit. And we have an alert that pops up that says the order has been submitted and it will be ready in 20 minutes. So next, Danielle will go ahead and talk about how she was able to achieve that really neat filter for the restaurants from our database.
Okay, thank you, Chelsea. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Great, okay. So to achieve the restaurant search, what I needed to do was basically go beyond the methods available in the generic repository. So the generic repository has get, add, update, delete, get all, and count. So what I decided to do, because I wanted to kind of implement some extra special functionality just for a restaurant repository, I decided to make a generic restaurant repository. So the generic restaurant repository is an interface, and it extends generic repository for restaurants. So this interface basically just says that, that any restaurant repository needs to implement this additional method as well, which is called get restaurant by name. It's actually maybe should be called get restaurant by search string, because you do not have to put in an exact name for it to match. You can really input any search string you want, as Chelsea has mentioned, and it will populate the restaurants that closely match the search string. So I made this interface, and then I have two classes: in-memory restaurant repository, and we have a MongoDB restaurant repository. So the in-memory restaurant repository, it will extend our in-memory repository for a restaurant. So again, these repositories do have all the same features as a regular generic repository has, with the additional method get restaurant by name. So the in-memory restaurant repository isn't as exciting. What really inspired me to do this was through indexing that you can do with a database. So the MongoDB restaurant repository class is more exciting. This class, when it is instantiated, I create a text index with MongoDB. So that's right here, actually. This text index here on line 17, it will create an index for the restaurant name field. You could do other fields if you want as well, but I only needed it for restaurant name. But in the future, we could search on other metrics as well. And then what I did is I used regex to basically say match anything can come before our search string or after, and give me all restaurants that match this particular pattern. And I do have the additional option here called I, and this just means that we're case insensitive. We don't care about upper and lowercase, which we wanted to be very flexible for our users. So for example, if they think, oh, I remember a restaurant called something Harbor, I don't remember the name, maybe I can throw it into our UI and see if this app has the restaurant that I'm thinking of. So yes, and then it will return an array of all restaurants that match the search string, and that will populate on our UI as Chelsea had demonstrated before. Okay, thank you. So I'll pass it off to Mustafa to talk about our delivery driver manager.
Phenomenal. Okay, great. Everyone can see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Great. As Chelsea mentioned at the end, when the user submits their order, an alert pop-up is alerted to the user, telling them that their delivery will be there within 20 minutes. However, if we wanted to go one step further, on our back end, we actually also created a delivery driver controller view, as well as this delivery driver manager that essentially, in theory, essentially as a whole, connects the order that has been created by the user to a delivery, which is also then created and transferred over to a delivery driver, and then therefore that delivery driver will go ahead and deliver that order to the user again. So this is a whole separate component that could be implemented on in the future. And so the way we thought about doing this at first was that you have this delivery driver manager that calls two singleton patterns, whatever is currently in your delivery controller as well as your delivery driver controller. Essentially, the whole process behind this delivery driver manager is that you have a queue system that implements all sorts of, or all of the delivery drivers in your current system. And what you're going to do is you're going to fill that queue based off of two scenarios. Whether your delivery driver has just recently been created, and that's done through your post request of the delivery driver, or if the delivery driver has just completed a delivery. And the way we do this is that actually in our delivery driver model, there's a field called currently working, and that status is a Boolean, which is either false if they are not working, which therefore they would be added to this queue, or true if they are currently on a delivery. So in either of those two scenarios, whether a post request is created or if their status is set to false, they would be added to this queue. And we have the send for delivery method, which essentially connects a delivery to a delivery driver. And by doing that, you are essentially popping off the the next available driver in your queue. So first in line driver in your queue, and connecting them to whatever that delivery was. And then finally, in the case where you have a completed delivery, so this method would be called in your delivery controller. If this method is called, therefore that delivery driver will now be set to currently working status as false, and then therefore will be re-added back to that queue. So if you look at the delivery driver view, as I mentioned, if a post request is created, that individual will be added to this queue system. So this is a whole separate infrastructure that can be later on created into our APIs, connecting the two together. But overall, this concludes our project and what we wanted to say. We hope you guys really enjoyed. And as a whole, you know, we look forward to you one day ordering from the incrEdibles food delivery. Bye-bye.